If you follow my channel, you probably know that I picked up a Hasselblad 500cm a few months ago. And for me, it was love at the first sight. So far, I've shot 15 rolls with it, and I have added 2 more lenses. One of them is the monstrous Tele-Tessar 500mm f8. I've only shot 5 rolls with it, so this video is my first impressions. Looking at the lens, the first thing that strikes is how big and heavy it is. Of course, I'm no stranger to big lenses, but this thing is almost 2.2 kilos, and it has a filter size of 86mm. It means that you have to bring a tripod for it. Of course, it has a big and heavy metal hood that is almost 150 grams. And it is a screw-on hood, and the lens also has a screw-on filter thread, unlike other Hasselblad lenses that have the bayonet system. To be able to fit it in a backpack, I usually take the hood and the cap off and use an 86mm filter to protect the front element. One easy way to carry the lens and the tripod is to use our baby stroller. Another thing is that it has these markers, probably to mark the focus position for different subjects. It seems that they have used a lot of metal in the lens's body. The focusing ring is also really weird, and it is almost 270 degrees from minimum focus to infinity. And the minimum distance is 8.5 meters. It means forget about using it indoors. Here are a couple of sample photos showing its close-up image quality that I think is good enough. Also, the aperture is from f8 to f64, and it means it's only a daylight lens. Using it for wildlife is really challenging. I took some bird photos with it, but it was on tripod and not easy to quickly change the lens direction. It can be used for portraits, but because of the distance with the subject, it's a little awkward. But it has a nice background blur, and I think it's actually usable for portraits. But I think it shines for landscape. You can easily take samples of the view in front of you and make some unique images on 6x6 film. Also, there wasn't a terrible vignetting in the viewfinder because of the long focal length. So how about the image quality? Well, at f8, that I think is how I'm gonna use this most of the time. The sharpness is just okay on film, but don't expect it to be perfect. Of course, the MTF charts show that it gets sharper if you stop down. And I actually tried it at f11 a couple of times, and it is actually sharper. But I don't care about that. I'm gonna use it wide open at f8 all the time. I just have to mention that it has noticeable purple fringing when shooting backlit subjects. And just for the fun of it, I used it on my Nikon Z6 III, and I used it mostly handheld, and it was a terrible experience. The focus peaking helped a lot, but the results are not very sharp and loads of chromatic aberrations. It also seems to have colder colors on my Z6 III. If I want to use a manual focus long lens on my Nikon, I much prefer the Pentax 645 400mm lens. It is much lighter and easier to focus, and image quality is also better. But remember, the Pentax lens doesn't cover the 6x6 film, and that's the actual purpose of this weird Hasselblad lens. I think it really shines on medium format film. It is the longest lens for 6x6, and it can even accept teleconverters. There is also a CF version of this lens that is more expensive and harder to find, but it has an Apo design and supposed to be better. It seems to be lighter, but it has the same minimum focus distance and its filter size is 93mm. Do I like to have it one day? Sure, but I don't want to pay a lot for it. Here are more sample photos from my lens on film. So that's it. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. Also feel free to follow me on Instagram and X, also known as Twitter.